400 horsepower, 472 pound-feet of torque, because this is another one of those Volvos with the I'd like everything, please.
You need it. We're in the 2021 Volvo XC90. We have not driven this, and we've driven almost all the Volvos at this point, and every one we get in, we really, really like.
Yep.
And that is the consistency throughout the brand, throughout everything, even though I feel like Volvo is in this sea change. They're in the midst of transition for everything that they're making, and they offer almost in every car and vehicle SUV they make, they offer hybrid and regular internal combustion engines in everything. So that means there's a lot of options on this. You can option all the way to this one, which is the fully decked out Recharge T8 Inscription XC90.
You're watching Everyday Driver. We make a TV show, podcast,
and YouTube channels dedicated to great cars, driving adventures, and helping you find a car you'll love.
subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
I was a little bit surprised at how much this cost. I mean,
were you?
A little bit.
We're getting used to Volvos always surprising us on a good way. Going.
This was a bit of a.
Not too bad.
That's a little more than I was expecting.
Sure,
but
it is their big boy though.
The everything. It's the 2-liter 4-cylinder, which they put in everything, with the turbo, with the supercharger, with the hybrid motor as well.
Yep.
So 400 horsepower, 472 pound-feet of torque. It has all the other options. $82,000.
Yep.
That's a lot of money. There's just no way around the fact that it's a lot of money. However, we talked about this and some other things before. I think whether or not it's a value for that money depends on where you compare it.
Absolutely.
And if you're comparing this with where I think it goes, which is the big Mercedes and the Porsches and the BMWs, suddenly it has a lot of value, even though it's still quite expensive.
The proportions say a little bit compact, but you get in the interior space in the first 2 rows, at least, is surprising. And you're right, this does compare to Jag and Mercedes and BMW and all the high-end brands, because as soon as you sit in this, you will understand now what Volvo is here to play. They mean business because they want your business. Everything you touch, everything you look at is incredibly high quality.
Yes.
And even though you might think, you're right, $82,000 is a lot of money, I can justify it in the XC90 because this particular one is fully loaded for everything. You're looking for something that will give mom and dad, fun to drive, interesting driving, smooth, clean, fast, excellent driving, but yet it's so useful for kids, for family.
And everything feels incredibly high-end. And you and I keep
does.
talking about Volvo is one of the very best for seats. These seats are amazing, and they do everything. Heat, cool, massage, the entire thing. And they're only about that thick. So the
look
thin
how
seat,
thin they are.
The actual usage of the seat space is really, really impressive, and it has an excellent second row that slides forward and back and has great tilt. That means that the third row is quite small. It is going to be kids only.
It's for kids.
It's kids only. But if you drop that third row, I was shocked to discover this. You drop that third row, the back storage area is immense. We can take 2 of our hard cases, which are carry-on size, put them end to end. Most SUVs don't allow that behind the second row. This does, so a lot of cargo space back there. If you use this as a 4 or 5-seater, I think you're going to have more space and more luxury than you ever expected, honestly, from any brand.
Yeah, for sure. That space back there is astounding, which makes it a really excellent 5-seater SUV.
Absolutely.
Lots of space for everybody and everything. I do feel like the powertrain needs some explaining. As we talked about, Volvo is making everything as a hybrid and also as just regular internal combustion engines. The difference here is with E all-wheel drive, in this one you have an 87 horsepower electric motor between the rear wheels in the rear, but there's no drive shaft from the engine running through to the back wheels. It's a front-wheel drive SUV with a lot of power up front, assisting back here, 87 extra horsepower for a grand total of 472 pound-feet of torque.
That's very true.
So what that means is when you get into the modes, down here, it's a cylinder. It's actually a carved sculptural cylinder here. And you go into mode. So you've got constant all-wheel drive, which is balancing. It's balancing between the power output of the engine and also the electric motor. But you've got pure hybrid power sporty driving and, of course, off-road mode. Off-road is only available 25 miles an hour or under.
Because why would you go off-road in this? I mean, that's really not what it's for.
Well,
but again, this is what all CUVs and SUVs are built for.
It's a dirt road, fire road kind of thing.
For sure.
So the modes actually make a big difference in having that powertrain difference. For sporty driving, for power mode, that means it's full power out of the engine and full power out of the electric motor, whereas the other modes balance. They balance between the two and shift around kind of depending on the driving that you're doing. And you can feel that because when you get into this thing, it almost lunges like a V8 engined SUV. It almost squats and just moves, almost.
I don't think you're going to drive this and think, wow, I wish this had more power. I think it's going to surprise you by the level of power. Now, it isn't something you buy for its incredible dynamics and its great handling. That's not what it's about. But if you have a family and you haul a bunch of stuff with your family, I think you're going to be shocked by the power in this, truly.
Yeah. Now, the XC90 has been around for a little while, so exterior styling is very familiar at this point. They haven't changed much. But I want you to appreciate the beauty looking around the car, the surface development, the surface quality, and most notably is where shut lines end. They end things at points where shut lines and parts come together and end them at their points. Most car companies will bring it an inch or two in. So they know if there's part shrinkage or warpage or
you can't see the problem with
different materials. You've got sheet metal and plastics and urethane all coming together. Volvo is going for it, and they're ending. The rear lights, for example, end at the design, the sculptural shut line point, which means they're doing really high quality work. This concave grille in the front, so it's a little bit of an update, and the Thor's hammer headlights, of course, but the proportion, most of all the proportion, it looks compact, and yet all this space in here.
And it doesn't feel as large as the amount of space you have. That's the other thing. It doesn't look that big from the outside. It doesn't feel that big to drive, but you sit here and you just go, they've done really well. And I think part of that is how efficiently packaged these seats are.
Yeah.
They really are thin and then comfortable. I don't understand how Volvo does this with seats and nobody else seems to pull it off. They're killing it with seats right now, and I love all of their design language. I love all of the feel of their materials.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of thinking. There's a lot of care that has gone into this, which makes it feel special to me.
They keep kind of refining this. Now this XC90, as Paul said, has been around for a while. This generation has been around in some variants since about 2017, I believe. But in 2020 was a big refresh. So this is just on the back of the big refresh. We haven't driven this refresh until right now. One of the big things that's happened is the all-digital dash here in front of you. It's had the same interface here in the center for a while. Now all-digital dash here, which of course is highly informative and has a nav screen in the center. So all of the tech you would expect right now is in here, but I think so much of it is packaged better and feels higher end than most of the brands you put Volvo next to. This feels better.
All right, I want to drive this.
Yep.
Waiting for traffic. To put this in gear, only on the Inscription, the Recharge T8 Inscription model, do you get this Oriforce crystal lever down here. It's 2 detents. I think that's more of a safety thing, but it actually corresponds to neutral and then drive. Something interesting about this screen is that it's a 9-inch, it's their Sensa screen, which means you can use gloves because it's infrared technology.
Oh.
So when you're wearing gloves, you can use the screen, and the cool thing about Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is it doesn't take up the entire screen. It just lives in the lower half when you plug in, so you can still have access to everything else because this system is actually really good.
I've been very impressed with how intuitive Volvo has made this. Now it's in all of their models, even from the base models all the way up. We've had it in the XC40 and lots of others.
Yeah.
So it works very well. It is actually very intuitive.
And wouldn't you know it, I have a Texas sheriff ahead of me, so I can't punch it.
It won't be too much speeding. There'll be less speeding.
I guess a lot less speeding.
Yeah. No, just a little bit less. Texas guys still go pretty quick.
We've been driving this extensively, and almost everywhere we go, you just want to nail the throttle. Hey, look at that. He's turning. Okay, so now we can nail it. Excellent. Right there is where you'll think, holy cow.
Yes.
She's got power.
And it's over 5,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
It almost leaps forward like a V8. Not quite, but you get that supercharging and turbocharging. I still love V8s. I still want a V8. But the efficiency, you start to add the efficiency of this entire powertrain, which is why I say they're in this mid-level renaissance as they're switching their cars over. You can see where Volvo is going, of course.
Of course, yes.
But they're not letting their cars down now by, sort of an interim hybrid powertrain. This is one of the best hybrid powertrain cars for normal people, normal buyers that I've ever been in. The way it works is one of the best. The way it drives, it doesn't let you down. You're not thinking, oh, well, now I'm in hybrid, now I'm in, and it changes your driving experience dramatically.
Well, to that point, we've had other car makers, Cadillac, that feel like they're waiting for them to do their next round, waiting for them to go electric. Volvo's been pretty public about the fact they want to go electric options on everything. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yes. Still has about a 5,000 pound towing capacity,
yeah.
but this is a 5,000 pound, up to 7 people, good sized SUV. And I think, to your V8 comment, I think you're going to drive this and consistently be surprised at how powerful it is.
If you don't get the air suspension, you get a transverse leaf spring in the back, which is really there for packaging, but the air suspension is exactly what you want. And it makes the entire SUV stable and far more purposeful in its driving. So I wouldn't say it handles really well, but it composes itself well.
That's an excellent distinction.
You get a lot of high-speed stability. You'll look down, you'll be shocked. But that's not really the point. It's more about your comfort level and your attentiveness. If your car responds to you, doesn't matter how big it is. If it responds to what you're doing and you can give it quick inputs, but it's not going to upset the car, that's what I'm looking for from an SUV like this. So it's still going to give you that, there's something fun here.
And that air suspension, honestly, it's funny because that's one of the cheaper packages on this car.
Yeah.
This car starts at about $60,000. This one we have is $82,000. That $20,000 delta, only $1,800 of that is the air suspension. There's lots of other really nice packages on this, but of course it's got the Bowers & Wilkins stereo. It's a press car special, which means they checked every box, which as a result makes it very nice in here. But the lesser XC90s, it's not like those are bad.
Yeah.
It's just this is the give me everything, please, and it's incredibly impressive.
Every time somebody gets in with us when we're driving a Volvo, every single time, they think, forgot about it, Volvo. I forgot about these guys. They're really good. And then we expound on how good they are. And if you're really genuinely looking, there's a lot of fun to be had. That's what we get asked on the podcast all the time is, guys, is there any minivan or SUV that's this tiniest bit fun to drive? And here it is. Having a car that responds to you and isn't just, compliant in one area on the freeway. It's on, it's attentive, it's responding to me, the driver.
It's satisfying. It just responds as you expect. And that is very satisfying, very much like this is what I need.
Yeah, I agree. Those responses though are very crisp.
Yes.
Especially when you're in power mode, but they're very on. It's ready for me. It's the overall driving experience, and I feel like that's what Volvo has really focused on, like Mercedes. And it's the kind of experience that doesn't leave you tired after a long drive or after just spending a lot of time in your car, running around town, running errands.
It's one of those nice places you can hide as a driver and just be like, this is my space, and it recharges me, and it feels really great. Yeah, Volvo continues to impress us, and I like being in the latest version of the XC90 because it lives up to the hype. This is by far Volvo's best-selling vehicle in North America, and I see why. I am not in the market for a 7-seat SUV. However, my wife did say that she wants to add this to the list of things to see when she shops after her Cayenne. She wants to at least give it a look. She's intrigued. This is a success story for Volvo, not because of my wife, but just in general. It's very good. And I love the interior here, and that's the biggest thing that I can say about it.
That's fantastic. That's high praise, just the fact that she wants to take a look at it.
Yeah,
she's interested. She's coming from Cayenne land.